Hey guys, what is going on? It's Ando, and it's time for another Galaxy of Heroes video. Sorry for my delays in videos. We have family visiting, and my office is actually right above where we have some family that has babies and they sleep and they have weird time frames. So I can't get to videos as much as I would like to, but just know that I'm with you guys through all the struggle, and I'm glad that we can get this one out there. Now, this was just going to be a news dump, and gosh, guys, it's not great, but let's talk it through. I want this to be a video where you guys can throw it on and hopefully at least get 70% of the stuff that's happening. So that way, at least you're a little bit informed, and whenever it drops in the game, you're not totally taken by surprise. So I do want to spend a little bit of time reading this first paragraph because I do think that it conveys a really good message that we should all probably hear, right? So it says, hello, Holotable Heroes. As we prepare to enter the era of Andor, we spend a lot of time analyzing the feedback from our 10th anniversary launch. That's great. I love that, right? That immediate first sentence gives me a little bit of a sigh of relief. But let's see what those things are, right? Like what feedback they got and how they analyzed it and all that good stuff. So while we are taking a conservative approach to changes for this era, we are implementing several key quality of life adjustments to reduce friction, protect players from overspending too early, and provide a clear roadmap for progression. Okay. All those things I love to hear. Again, I don't want them to rush into changes. Usually rushing into a change means that there's going to be more changes down the road. Taking a conservative approach usually then allows you to take things into a little bit more of a bite-sized piece and then actually, digest it and help you kind of determine like, hey, did this work? Did this land? Yes or no, or whatever the case is. Okay. So the first one that it reads well. I'm going to say that I'm still pretty negative on, but this was reducing early era pressure, right? Sounds great. So listen, they're lowering the requirements for the first three marquees of the Andor era of the era level requirement for the final tier has been reduced from 70 to 55. So the final three, they're still remaining at 70 because they're going to have more time to naturally accumulate the materials by that stage. Okay. So why am I not a fan of this? Again, just from my one time of running through this of, sample size 1, as I recall it, I had Stormtrooper Luke at 7 stars and I couldn't complete the final tier. And I said that felt bad at the time. What I did do though, and it wasn't much, I think what I just determined is that I had enough ability materials to get to level 15 or 16 or something like that. But what I was lacking was the credit crunch. So what I did was I said, hey, no problem. I'll just go in, see what my credits can do, what my crystals can do. And I bought a few of their crystal packs on my main account. And I got him up to level 15. Now I know what you're saying, especially now that we've seen like what the full scale of things there. Like to me, that was like, wow, I've like tripled my, my era levels. That was, again, significant amount of crystals that I put in. It wasn't like thousands or anything, but it was like 500, 600. I forgot what it was, but something like that. And for a tier that used to be free for me, because I would just, if I got to 7 stars, I was going to be able to use the gear and relics and things and training droids and ability mats and all the other things that I accumulated for 9 years of playing this game and just throw it into that character. I never had an issue getting a character to relics. Again, and I'm a small segment of the player base. I understand that. I'm sure there was plenty of new players that they bought the character to 7 stars and then they bought the gear and they bought the training droids and they bought the, all the other things that comes with it. They bought the relic levels. And so I'm sure that this change to them represents them missing part of a revenue stream. So I'm not trying to sound greedy here, but era level 55 still represents a significant amount of crystal that you have to put into your first 3 characters because you're not going to be there after 3 characters. So that's just me. Again, I don't want to look at something and be like, wow, that's total trash, but it doesn't really affect me. And that's still going to be if I were to choose to 7-star a character ever again in this new format that they have, which I don't think that's going to be what I'm going to be doing, I would still be missing out on a reward that I used to get for free. So yeah, sorry. I know that's a long-winded way of me saying that, hey, I don't really love this, but that I just wanted to explain why I'm not huge on that. Okay, so they're going to talk a little bit about Coliseum and strategic variety. So I also made a video on this. I think it was right when IG 90 was released. This had to change. So this isn't as much of a pat on the back to CG as like was the obvious change that had to happen in my opinion. So the summon units are now going to scale based on your highest level arrow unit rather than the lowest. Why did this have to change? Listen, they want people to play their new characters. It is a total and epic fail whenever you are choosing not to engage in their brand new content that they're releasing, right? So that never made sense. People were getting higher scores by just upgrading their Luke and not using IG88 rather than sitting there and actually putting the resources and learning how to play IG80 or 90. And that just didn't make any sense to me. So this had to change. Okay. So great. I'm glad it changed. I'm glad they saw that. But again, not to belabor this point, but that had to have changed. So now we're going to get leader-based summons. So because we kind of wondered this with the 10th anniversary. None of those characters had synergy at all. We were like, how is this going to work? They got pretty fancy with a unique that allowed them to basically get all the tags at once. So this is just more or less, now that we have like two factions, they're basically saying, hey, if you bring in a rebel leader, these are the characters you're going to get. If you bring in an ISB leader, these are the characters you're going to get. And that's actually somewhat, exciting to me because I think there's going to be some times where we're going to get, a raid boss where we say, hey, I don't know, like maybe rebel fighters, they assist. And that's really good for certain bosses. Whereas other bosses, that maybe you don't want to hit certain thresholds. All of a sudden, like the ISB, maybe they've got better mechanics for some of those characters. So you're going to probably see like a little bit more strategy put into that and potentially more videos and stuff that you can watch in order to get your better scores on that. So I would say like I like the strategy aspect of this. The other stuff I thought was the give me. All right, so era challenges. I'm going to take a quick like 60 seconds on this. Listen, they're going to Kleia is going to only have one feat, just like we basically just had with our era challenges this last go around. The other 5 characters are going to have 4 feats on there. Why? I don't know. Again, I'm waiting to see how this all pans out. I don't want to be overly negative when things come out, but this one really seems strange to me. They are saying the goal for this is to provide a reason to revisit challenges as your squad grows, giving everyone, especially free-to-play players, more opportunities to earn rewards and engage with the new units throughout the era. Now, again, we remember era challenges are sort of like our replacement for our galactic challenges. If you remember galactic challenges, the amount of free-to-play players that could actually accomplish all of your feats that you were giving them in the previous iteration, very few. Because a lot of them ended up being like, hey, like make sure you have this character at 7 stars, and you just can't really do that often, right? And then there'd always be like some odd things like, hey, make sure that this is a full team of Jawas. And it's like, how many free-to-play players that have, especially newer players, have that squad ready to roll? So I'm curious about this, but you know what? They did make some pretty bold claims last time, and for the most part, they kept them. So I'm going to try to remain open-minded on this, but yeah, that's a weird one. So they're giving us a clear roadmap, which I can appreciate this because we didn't know the order. We didn't know some of these things last time. And so now they're at least trying to come forward with this from day one, right? So here's the characters that they're going to give us, right? We've got a few characters and we'll go through those a little bit later. And now they're giving us also the requirements of them, right? So if you want to pass tier 1 of the Cassian unlock, you're going to need your marquees 1 through 5 at 4 stars and Kleia at era level 45. And that was going to give you your Cassian at 4 stars. So it goes all the way up to, you know, how you unlock at 7 stars. It still looks like you need to have era level 85. Again, I'm not a huge fan of that. And I think that's been well documented everywhere that we go, because it used to be 7-star was enough. It used to be things like that. Like, yeah. Again, I don't want to belabor that point, but yeah, that is a thing. The other thing that I want to talk about is that they did actually kind of go into why they're doing scaling rewards. So if you guys remember during the era, right, the first episode, it was like we were getting like pretty minimal amounts of currency, you know, the credits or whatever you want to call them. So, and then as they kind of went on without really any explanation, they just started sort of increasing it. And I didn't know if this was because they've seen the data and they're like, wow, they're really far behind, or if this was supposed to be something that was natural, but comes, you know, like as we're finding out right now, that is actually by design. So if you feel like you are in a credit crunch, especially early on, you are, and it's intentional. And as we go further and further along, you are going to get your rewards and be able to upgrade your squads a little bit easier. And that's what I found with like my completely free to play account that I went through. This was, I was catching up at the end. And so there's a small micro way of rewarding people that want to kind of expedite things, right? So, all right, the era battles. Now they're saying that you're going to be able to do era battles. So yeah, the squads you recruit during the era of Andor are your ticket to the exclusive era battle launching in the next cycle. So era battles are going to be something very similar to, you know, I'm guessing to the assault battles that used to be given for some of these marquee cycles that they kind of go through. So just strengthening your team now ensures you're ready to secure high value resources when the battle begins. So their goal is to have 12 era battles events run per era, alternating between on and off weeks throughout the cycle. And there will be 2 different battles, each with different requirements. So I'm guessing one of them is going to be Rebel Fighters. The other is going to be the ISB. Now, this is nice that they're also explaining this out because we don't know. I am a little bit confused on the wording, but let's just go ahead and talk through it. And I'm going to read it as it's stated. So unit availability. Following the 10th anniversary pattern, units will move to shipments about a week after the era concludes, and units will move to nodes on a bi-weekly cadence following that. Now, this is a little bit different timing than what we saw with the old marquee system. It used to be something like, and don't quote me on the times, but basically marquee event drops, there's a week of that, and then you have usually 2 to 3 weeks or whatever where there's nothing and now your next character comes in. Usually about a month or 2, I think it was like a month after the marquee event went live, it then went into shipments, and then about a month from there, after shipments introduction, it moved into a node for a free to play, and then from a year from that, they would be coming accelerated. So this sounds like, you know, we're about to have the end of the era in about a couple days. So from 1 week from that will be the first time that Stormtrooper Luke is put into shipments. And then 2 weeks from there, we should be getting into a node. So basically like a month after the era begins, we should be getting these characters free to play farmable. And then from there, every 2 weeks or so, we should be getting a character back into a node. So it should take us probably about a total of, couple months to kind of get these guys going. So again, I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, if this was right or, whatever, but that's what it's saying. The other important thing to note here is that the post-era support, once the era of Andor concludes, these units will receive dedicated squad-based FDCs of the focus datacrons to provide extra strength in legacy meta and GAC and TW. Then it does this whole era level conversions. I don't really know why it does this, but okay, we're just going to go through it. Anyways, this is like their closing thought, right? They just wanted this to feel a little bit more structured. And, I can't blame them for trying. I just can't love every single thing that they do. But again, they don't have to please me, right? They got to please everyone. Their entire population of people that are playing this game. Okay. We also got an update today. We're going to get some character touch-ups, and then there was just some small stuff, right? So Hunter, I know a lot of people are, still on the accelerated characters grind. So Hunter is the mercenary version of him. is now added to that accelerated characters. And then there was just a bunch of different things. One of the key things that I'm really glad at is that this GAC resave roster button is disabled. It's so long as there's like, I used to click that thing like 15 times, and yeah, it was very annoying. They fixed a lot of stuff, and again, I think a lot of this is probably coming back through testing, like Jedi Knight Revens, Master Strategist. They didn't tell us what was wrong with it. They just said they just fixed an issue with it. I found this Inquisitor Barriss one pretty funny, because like it wasn't even close. Like it says it's incorrectly written. Whenever an enemy gains a stack of Purge, Inquisitorious allies gain 3 heal over time for 2 turns. And they replace it with the correct one. Whenever an Inquisitorious ally critically hits an enemy, that enemy gains a stack of Purge, max 6, which can't be resisted until the end of the encounter. Again, I don't even know how that happened. It must have just been like a copy and paste thing. But I think that was most of what I really cared about, like as far as the fixes. There was just like some other stuff. The big thing is I'm not going to read the character touch-ups. You guys, I'll post these links so that way you guys can check it out. But IPD is getting a big kind of overhaul. The big thing with him is he's got like this rank system now, and if you have like certain amount of ranks, when you do your self-destruct, you are actually going to be able to revive. So it's very cool. Like I actually like that, and I think he's going to be really good. The key takeaway for that is I know a lot of players that don't have IPD because you joined the game at a time where you weren't really doing, Hoth TB. And so it's going to take some time for you guys to farm him up. I would do it. You got some time, a couple months. I would definitely farm him up. He looks like he's going to be really good, and looks like he's going to be part of this squad. It's not like he's just sort of like, oh, well, maybe I'll just replace him with someone else. You're going to want him. So just know that, you're going to want him. I would farm him up whatever way you and your guild seem, necessary. If you guys are going to go all the way to Hoth TB, make sure you guys have your Imperial Troopers, if I remember right. But I think the easier thing is to just use your tokens. I think you can get some, and I think also the Mark II on the raid, although that's like a pretty big premium, will also farm him out. Okay, so, and then Director Krennic is also getting one. So if Director Krennic and IPD is on your guild's platoons list, go ahead and follow the dagger, because I think both of these looks really good. Again, I'm not going to read them all because it would take a long time, but they do look pretty solid, and I think the Imperial squad, the ISB squad, is going to be really nice. Okay, let's go into the final thing that I want to talk about. Sorry, I know this video is a little bit longer, but I did want to say, like, hey, this is the breakdown, right? In episode 1, we're going to get Clea and Vel. And then in episode 2, we are going to get Cinta and Deidre. And then in episode 3, we're going to get Mater Partagaz. And then KX droid. So the one big thing that I really don't like is this bosses thing. And okay, maybe I lied. I stretched that. Then that's not the one big thing. There was many things, as I already mentioned, that I wasn't a huge fan of. I don't know how else to say this other than, can we get new bosses, or can we get more thematic stuff? Listen, like, these were fun, all right? And in a game mode that we're changing, that we're trying to almost have it is very ironic to me that we have a legacy mode, and then we've got this Coliseum that was supposed to be fresh, new. And yes, our characters interacting with these bosses, there might be some really cool interactions that we can build off of. But can we change some things? Can we get maybe more thematic things for this thing? I know I'm asking for a lot. I know it's like a huge strain on the art team. I know, the design team has to then get new, like mechanics and kind of think things through. I just don't know of like how long we can play the same bosses over and over again, even with new things, right? Like that's almost like saying, well, TB, territory battles, is really actually very fun so long as you just don't use the same squads. You just, instead of using Inquisitors in this mission, go in there with Night Sisters, and that's even better, right? I don't buy that, and if, like I said, if they're going to push this as their major game mode, and they're pushing this hard, guys, like, don't make no mistake about this. This is the game mode right now that they're trying to extract the most bang for their buck, their most dollar for this thing. This, in my opinion, cannot be the place where they say, oh, but we're just going to go into maintenance mode on this and just let you guys play the same bosses and just give you guys new characters to spend on. Yeah, to me, that doesn't cut it. But I'll leave that into the hands of CG and the capable hands of the people that spend money. So that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you guys' feedback. Thank you guys so much. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you guys waiting for? Leave a thumbs up and a comment down below. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.